Welcome, Pullin fans. My name is Ron Stone here with Mike Idle. It's Tuesday night, of course, 7 p.m. You know what that means. Outlawed Live, talking anything and everything outlaw pulling. Mike, it's deja vu here. Didn't I just say this a few minutes ago?
We didn't break 100 feet. We've still got our option. They pulled us straight back, and we're going to hook again. So you know what? We got the turbo spooled up this time, and 2 attempts is never a bad thing because we are live this time around.
That's right. That's right. We've got Pro Stock four-wheel drive pulling champ Keith Hammons on deck here tonight. Going to talk to us about his season. 7 points championships for Keith and that team out of Missouri. 10 championships in total for him if you count his other championships with PPL and IMO. So big year for him. And, of course, we're going to talk about Draggin and Pullin in the Pines. We're 17 days away, Mike, from the last Outlaw event of the season. So, you know what? You cued me in on the fact that we weren't live was that we had no comments.
No comments. I was looking for them, too, and I was like, you know what? We've said some good stuff. Like, there have been a nice little springboard bits on here. I said, where is everybody? And then – yeah, that's when we figured it out. It happened. Do you not have your sticky note? Don't you have your little sticky note on your computer that says go live?
No, it blew away. It fell down somewhere. So, yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. I caught it 4 minutes in, so we weren't too late. So
yeah, it wasn't a half-hour marathon that we had to try to recreate this time. So no worries, everybody.
So we got some folks tuning in and chiming in already. Zuck Kukerberg. Zuck, you better have this playing in the background while you're in the shop working on that tractor. That's all I got to say.
How many parts are we down to? It was, what was it, hundreds, and then it was dozens. And so if the number is continuing to decrease, this is like a live update every weekend with the Griffin Growl out there.
Yeah, 17 days till Draggin and Pullin in the Pines. The Jason Schultz watching tonight as well. Baseball with friends says, hey
man.
So
baseball's great. Pulling's even greater.
All right. We're rocking and rolling here.
Yep.
Robert Miner tuning in from Niobrara, Nebraska says, what's up? We need some rain here. Yeah, it's
we all. Yep.
We'll drive it. Anyway, we're going to be talking a lot about Lufkin, Texas. Of course, pullers out there. Sign up is open right now. It's been open for a while. I did check it today. It was updated today, and we see some more 2-wheel drives have signed up and some more 3.0 diesel pickups. Got 7 so far. I know of several vehicles that haven't signed up yet that I know are going. So this is not
very, very early to be, the fact that they're signed up now is a bonus, not a reason to say, oh, there's only so many or whatever.
Right.
Typically, you don't even look at this until 24 to 48 hours before the pull. But it's exciting to see that pullers are already committed. So that's fun.
Yeah. I think I have a feeling it's going to be the biggest year yet for this event.
Oh, yeah.
I really do. I even, caught wind that possibly some friends from Kentucky might be coming.
I've heard rumors that maybe some folks from California as well might kind of meet in the middle with some of those Kentucky family or friends.
Tina Berger watching from Wilbur, Nebraska. Thanks. Zook has a Doug Voth 37 parts and some odd parts there. It's those odd parts that take time, I think.
If you're down to a specific count, that's a good sign. If you're no longer saying hundreds or dozens, if you can actually lay them out and have an exact number, that's promising. I'm taking that as a good sign.
Yeah, that's definitely a lower number than what we were talking about before. Charlie, make sure Doug is working on the tractor. He's not sitting around watching Outlawed Live right now. You guys can listen, but you got to get that tractor done. Joe Claypool tuning in as well from Macon, Missouri.
Perfect.
And as far as those friends from Kentucky I was talking about, it came up that they were going to try a new set of the Pro Puller 12-ply tires, and they were wanting to test them out down in Lufkin. And if come to find out that Pro Puller had 60 sets of those supposed to go out last week, but guess where they were coming out of? Their plant in Tennessee. and they weren't able to get those out because they were right in the middle of the flooding disaster down there. So they may not be there after all. So we'll see. But anybody out there watching from down in the South there, and Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Florida, of course, hearts go out to all those folks down there. And Florida's bracing right now for another big hurricane. My cousin, where I was down there in May, he's right in the eye. He lives right there in the Bradenton area. So they said they're 30 feet above sea level, so they're gonna hunker down and brace for it. So,
well, best of luck, and of course, we are, like you said, our condolences go out. We hope everyone weathers the storm and bounces back, and that we're up to 100% in no time. So, thinking about everyone down there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, without further ado, tonight's guest, points champ in 2024, Keith Hammons out of Green City, Missouri, the bipolar Chevy. Keith, how's it going tonight, buddy?
Living the dream, man.
Living the dream. Well, thanks for coming on. I know this is a busy time of year for everybody, and trying to get a lot of our points champs on here has been kind of a struggle because we're right in the middle of harvest. So I know you were busy last week, and I twisted your arm a little bit and held you to coming on tonight. So I appreciate it. So we were talking about your points championships. Of course, congratulations on 2024, but you've won 7 Outlaw championships, man. What is the secret?
There is no secret. It's I don't know. Just pay attention to everything. Relentless hours, thousands of hours of working on stuff that a lot of people don't do.
Yeah. Paying attention to a lot of details and dotting I's and crossing T's, I'm guessing is
it's everything. There's not one thing that makes a champion. And everybody that's a champion knows it. It's everything. It's everything from tires to engine to chassis to shocks to reading the dirt, gear selection, being lucky. It's multiple things.
Yeah, it's one thing that and I've mentioned this announcing before too is I've seen you out there just when they start cutting into the track. You're out there running that dirt through your fingers. The only thing I didn't see you do was actually taste the dirt. You don't go that far.
No, it tastes like dirt.
Yeah, it tastes like dirt.
Tastes like winning.
Anybody out there tuning in has any questions for Keith Hammons? Go ahead and type them in there. We'd love to have him answer some questions here. Doug Voth says prayers go out to hurricane victims. Got a lot of people tuning in tonight.
Keith, one thing that you pointed out to me, something that you prefer to do, and Ron mentioned that you like to be at the track and watch them as soon as they open it up and kind of pay attention to the way that dirt evolves throughout the day. You mentioned to me one time, you actually prefer to see the track before it's even opened up. You said that you want to look at it the minute you get there and say, if there's a spot holding water, I want to know where there was water before there wasn't water. I want to know why there's a low. Walk us through that. I had so many conversations with you this summer, and I learned so much. Tell us about looking at the track before the track's even built.
Well, I mean, I've said it before, a 6,200-pound Pro Stock truck is not very much weight. It's got a very small tire. It's fairly long drawbar. We don't have a lot of downforce, a lot of forward bite, not a huge tire to take off in any circumstance. So, I mean, if there's a big mud hole out there, we need to know about it, and you need to avoid it. And it's not just one thing; it's everything that makes a winner. And if you can get up there and have that advantage of going, hey, there's a mud hole at 150 feet, 12 foot off the chalk line, well, then you need to know it.
What was it you described to me about your driving process one time? You kind of said, and I'm sure all four-wheel drive truck pullers know this, but you're not trying to drive. You're trying to drive to an end location. Is that right? You said it instead of driving in front of you, you drive towards the end of the track, because as soon as you start trying to drive right in front of you, your rear end will try to pass you. You told me something so neat. Tell the fans or kind of recreate that bit of advice that you were telling us one time.
I like to pick out a spot out there 400 or 500 feet out, a sign or a car parked in the parking lot or, something out there to stare at. Because if you're staring, it's no different than driving down the highway. If you're staring out there 20 feet in front of you, then before you know it, you're not where you need to be. You need to make a stare out there a long ways and, pick your line and, this is where I want to end up and just drive to it. There's a lot of times, I do a lot of steering and everybody, well, why'd you steer so much? Well, the truck didn't want to go where I wanted it to go. It's just, I had to steer it there. Then tractors do the same thing. A lot of times they'll just let it go wherever it wants to go. But
yeah, I was actually going to ask you that question. What do you do when the truck tries to go its own way? If it starts like crab walking, if you will, how do you come out of that? Because I know if you fight it too much, you're beating yourself up a little bit. So what's your theory on that? I mean, if it doesn't go where it wants to go, or doesn't go where you want it to go, do you just let it go where it wants to go?
Well, yes, sometimes, and there's a lot of times I'll go back and watch a video and go, holy cow, I had this, I had front ends way turned versus the rear end. And, you don't realize you're doing it. It's just, you're staring out there a long ways away and you're going, hey, this is where I've got to be. Or this is where I want to be. Sometimes you make the wrong decision, but I don't know. It's a feel thing. If it's way off, then you just let it go do whatever it wants to do.
Parade Alley Lounge here has a very important question. Your drink of choice, Keith.
Cheap.
Oh man, you were telling me about the cost of pulling in a weekend one time, and you would say, you make this and you earn that, and so on and so forth. And you said, and plus $17 for the case of beer at the end of it too, or something like that.
That's right. So that's right.
Robert Miner has a question for you. Would you ever hop in a Ford and drive a Ford?
So I used to be partners with the Halleys, Todd and Phil Halley, and Marty Selma had the Rat Trap up for sale, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago. And we seriously considered trying to buy that truck and trying to run two. And I looked right at Todd and I said, we've got to be stupid as hell to want to run two of these. Pick our poison. And luckily Marty kept in the truck. And, I love pulling with the Selmas every weekend. They're great competitors. They're great teammates. Yeah. And the class wouldn't be the same without them.
I agree.
So Ford, yeah, I'd be in a Ford. It doesn't matter.
Your biggest pulling influence, Keith. We probably asked you that before, but it's been a while since you've been on. But your biggest pulling influence, what got you into pulling?
Man, I don't know. My grandfather on my dad's side pulled mules in the 50s. My dad's pulled. My mom's pulled. When I was in my younger 20s, I worked for Ernie Connor Machine, building tractors. And I don't know. It gets in your blood and you can't quit. It's just it's not a, hey, I want to do this. It's I have to do it. I don't know. It's a unexplainable drug, I guess, of let's drive 6 hours for a 15-second pass. It's dumb, but it's I never see ourselves being happy and not pulling. You can't wait to get there and see your friends that you haven't seen in a week or two that live 500 miles away. It's a family on the road. I don't know. I
get it. I get what you're saying. For folks that haven't hooked to a sled and don't have the sickness, Keith, I know there's something about when you back up that sled and you feel that clunk or that big hook hitting the drawbar, and then hitting the end of that chain, tightening it up. There's something about that kind of gives you goosebumps. I mean,
I've got friends that drag race and they're like, well, what, we go 5 seconds and a quarter mile, you guys are going 15 seconds and 300 feet. How hard can it be? And it's, I can't tell you what happens down that 300 feet. Hour later you go, oh yeah, I do remember kind of hitting that bump. And, it's everything happens so fast. And I don't know if it's just the roughness of it or, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, it happens. It's slow, but it's fast.
Right.
And, yeah. I don't, man, it's just a feeling you can't get out of your head. And then, everybody needs an arch nemesis, of everywhere you go. Hey, no matter what, we'll take next to last as long as that guy gets last. And that's the next part, is no matter what happens, as long as we beat this person, it's all right.
So the battles within the battles and the kind of, and everyone always says that pulling, it's only 15 seconds, but it's an all day thing. It's so much more when you walk the pits between tuning and setting up and paying attention to the track and helping your teammates out and relying on them. And then, discussion, what it's like hunting, at the end of the day, you go out afterwards and you talk about what worked and what didn't work. And it's so much more than a 15-second ride,
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't know. It's definitely an addiction that's, you can't hardly scratch it enough to make it stop itching. It's
Jake Lashway is asking how much weight you actually have on the front of the truck. And I guess with that question, what does the truck weigh without any weight on it? How much weight do you have to add to it?
Man, I don't know. I've never weighed it like that. I don't know. There's probably 3,000 pounds of lead in the front of it anyway. I don't know. I've never weighed it without anything. I don't know. I know the front axle's about 5,500 pounds out of the 6,200. So, I mean, it's mostly on the nose.
Cool Lundahl says, if given the opportunity to run any of the other pickup classes, what class would it be and why?
Nothing against mod four-wheel drives. I love to watch them. I don't think that I would personally want to be in one. I don't know. They're a little rough. They do a lot of hopping and bucking, and I don't know. I like the Pro Stock class because it's limited tire. It's limited RPM, or, limited cubic inches, unlimited RPMs. It's it's just how hard do you want to beat on it, but yet make it live all year. And I don't know. If anybody's been to the drag strip and ever paid attention to Pro Stock cars, they're cool because they got working doors and they've got a 500-inch motor that's they used to be carbureted, but it's something that's most people can relate to. A lot of like an unlimited mod, most people look at that and go, holy shit. Wow.
Well, I love we call them tractors into the tractor pulling clan. They're like, that's
you can't really relate to that. And, the Pro Stock truck, you kind of look at it and go, hey, I've got those same tires on my rig, and it's I got that same front end, and I got a big block Chevy, and other than that, there's nothing the same. But
right.
But you have advocated, so you wouldn't, you wouldn't jump to the modified four-wheel drive, but I have heard you advocate for what you think would make a really cool tractor class. And I don't remember the specifics, but aren't you wanting to invent like a super light Pro Stock 6,000 pound? What is it you've always been saying you want to invent?
I think a 4-1 tractor, 6,200 pound with a component chassis would be really, really fun to watch. I wouldn't want to drive one personally, but I think that would be an amazing class. 6,200 pound 4-1s.
With a component rear end, so that way they're not.
Oh, yeah, component. Yep.
Yeah. That.
I think they could make it work. It'd turn it into a really good driver's class. It would kind of eliminate the, hey, we found another 40 horse. Guess what? You can't use it. So that's kind of what our class is. We can make more power. can you use it?
Can you get it to the ground? Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
and that rule proposal has come up in the past. I mean, I think it even came up again last year, something about shortening the drawbar and going with a 35-inch tire, or possibly even going to a bar tire. And of course it got voted down, which I'm kind of glad that it did, just because that's part of the challenge, I think, of the class is getting that horsepower to the ground effectively. So the driver has to be part of that equation. You can't just go in there and mash the throttle and dump the clutch,
Exactly. There's so many things, we've got more power than we can use, obviously, for a tire size we have and the drawbar. So, like that, it comes back to the, there's multiple things to make you win. And when you take one or two of those equations out, well, then it's not as much fun.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one or two tractor classes that are really fun to watch because, a light unlimited super stock, like Bryce Terry's tractor, that class is fun to watch because they've got more horsepower than they can use.
Oh yeah.
And they're not very much weight, and it becomes a driver's class.
Absolutely.
And it's, to me, a pro stock truck is a somewhat driver's class and using what you can.
Robert Miner is asking, what track is hard to pull on? In your opinion, what's the hardest track to pull on?
Oh man, Wisner is tricky. Because it's loose, but it takes a lot of horsepower to go down that track. It's people all the time. Hey, how do you figure out Wisner? I don't know. That is one of the toughest tracks to read, and it changes a lot. And man, to walk that track, and it's 3 inches of like sandy looking weird dirt, and you're like, man, there's no way that this thing's gonna hook. And yet everybody runs out of power at the end of the track, and it's like, hey, this thing is weird. That's a tough track.
Wathena kind of comes to mind when you say that, because I pulled at Wathena 2 or 3 times, and the track seemed super loose. Yet it would just eat up horsepower, and your RPM would come down. It's like, why is the RPM down? It ought to be screaming right now, But I know what you mean.
And then we go to I always want to say Greenfield, Iowa, because it's such a good track. But I can't remember. Brain fart. Weeping Water. Track. That track takes a lot of power when the track's good. And, you kind of know what to do with that. Hey, you find the smallest gear you haven't run all year, and you put it in there and hope you don't break your neck at the end of the track. It's a fast, really good track, but it's fairly simple because, it takes horsepower to go down that track.
We saw your buddy, Marty, that you were talking about earlier, make one of what I thought one of the toughest decisions that I've seen a test puller make this year. It was at Weeping Water, where he drew the number 1 spot. And you almost kind of know if the sun hasn't set in the 4-wheel drive truck class and you're number 1, you're going to turn that down and let the water come back up. But he poked it out there to like 331 or something like that on that challenging track. And I mean to tell you, he talked and talked and talked to that tech official. And then we saw what happened when he did decide to come back later on. That was a biting track. And
that track is known for
that night.
That track is like Marty's, I don't know, that's his black hole or whatever. I mean, he breaks there almost every year, and it's nothing against his truck. It's just that track is hard on trucks, a pro stock truck.
Sure.
And it's, I don't know. I always give him crap. I'm like, man, you don't turn that down anymore. That's Weeping Water. Hey, if you make A to B pass, taking it. It's hard to turn down 330 feet, but we know that track builds a road. And Marty's not dumb. He's playing the numbers game. Yeah, Bermuda Triangle. Yeah, and he knows that he's got a better chance at 6th than he does at 1st. Especially if I'm hooking 5th or 7th or something. You always want to. I've said it for years. If I can take the lead when I run and hold it for 2 or 3 trucks, I've done everything I can do. And, everybody knows pro stock trucks build a road. And if you're first hook or second hook, which is the worst number ever to have, second hook, and that track builds a road, and say I'm second hook and Marty's last hook and we're tied for points, it's not going to be a good night. You're going to lose some points. And, they're competitors. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, you're pretty consistent, though. I mean, even – it's interesting, when I'm announcing a pull, let's say something like the Iowa State Fair, and I can't think of another pull where this season where he had an early hook and the sun is shining and the track is going to dry out, and you pull, you draw, a late number. And in my mind, I'm thinking it's going to be interesting to see how Keith handles this.
Rock Valley was kind of that way.
And usually you still end up there, in the top 10, even, when the odds are against you, rarely do you finish way down there. So yeah, as far as consistency, you've got it figured out.
Well, you got to make changes. We've pulled at Rock Valley for 10 years now. We kind of know what it's going to do. And when it starts going away, you got to change the truck. You can't just go through your notes from 8 years ago and go, hey, we ran the 800 gear here and, we got third. And, you've got to change with the times and with the track situations. And if you're not willing to change, well, you're backing up. There's very rare do we go down the track the same twice ever. I'm changing something all the time to go, and every now and then it don't work. You get a 5th or 6th, and you go, hey, guess what? Put that in your notebook. That didn't work here.
Right. Ben Beller put a question up there. Have you driven anything in any other class, any other vehicle in any other class in your pulling career?
When I was working for Ernie, Glenn Dyson owned the Gopher tractor, which Jerry Mullick's owns now. And we built that tractor, and I don't remember what they called the class, like a 3-in, 4-out, 540 cubic inch, whatever that class was. I drove that tractor and pretty much catastrophe.
Not the response at all I thought you were going to say.
That was at Unionville on the old track, and they had, the guardrails down the side. I'm pretty sure the right back tire was up against the guardrail the whole way down the track. It was terrible. And, yeah, it was different. I think Jerry Mullick's come up to me afterwards. He's like, it's got to be a really tough tractor for everything you just did to it. I don't know. It was fun.
Yeah, Jerry's watching tonight, by the way. I saw he's watching here, yeah, as well. I didn't know if you saw this, but you've got family watching tonight. Keith Hammond Sr. is watching tonight as well.
Hi, Daddy.
And then Jamie said, I think that was the comment about you saying you drive a Ford. Maybe she's commenting on there. So.
Yeah, I'll always find something funny on Facebook, and send it to Marty or Loretta, and they're like, that's mean. But yeah,
so you can hear her in the background.
You gotta have a little badgering every now and then.
What's in store for 2025 for the bipolar team?
We just bought a semi for a hauler. That'll be fun. Maybe get the pulls with a little more room,
a little more spacious, a place to sleep.
My luck it'll break down out in the middle of Nebraska.
Find better spot to lay your weights down gently.
Yeah. Don't put them on your foot. I don't know. Other than that, probably not a lot.
Well, in your pulling career, I mean, if you had to thank anybody right now, I mean, even more recently, any sponsors, but anybody you'd like to thank, Keith?
Oh, I mean, obviously my friends and family. I couldn't do without my wife, or I wouldn't do it. It's her job is everything that I don't do, which is a lot. Probably more than I should put on her. Obviously, Jim Evans, Raleigh Competition Engines, built us a hell of a power plant. We couldn't do it without him. Bryce and Sid Terry Implement, help us out. Terry Win Angus Farms, they help us out. The list goes on and on. It's without you guys out there pushing us, promoting us, we wouldn't be where we're at. So thank you.
Appreciate that.
Keith, you mentioned Raleigh Competition Engines, and I know Marty and Loretta are watching tonight. And Marty was generous enough. He actually compiled some stats and forwarded me a sheet. Now, I don't know. Have you seen this sheet that kind of speaks to, I know you're a big believer in the RCE, power plants that you guys are using. And he sent this to me. And of the various different engine builders out there, top 5 finishes, Raleigh Competition Engines accounted for 42 of the top 5 finishes on the year, with the next closest kind of power plant out there being 17. So that RCE power plant, I know that several of you guys are using. Really impressive statistics. The sheet that Marty sent me, it's got some neat stuff. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that or not.
Yeah, we did. You always wish we had a little more, but maybe we'll shoot for 60 next year.
But no, very impressive stuff. I know you guys are big believers in that product.
Yeah, it's Marty made that little sheet up. It was pretty cool to see. I mean, I hadn't looked at it that way. Top 5 finishes. We kind of keep track of our own wins and seconds and this and that, and it was pretty neat to watch, or
Sure.
to see that. And you start looking at it and you go, wow, that's a lot of top 5s, and I don't know. I'm very happy with the way the engine program's evolved with Jim. Like I said, maybe I've told you this story or not, but when I first bought my DRZ, I don't know, 9 years ago or whatever, 8 years ago, whatever it was, I called Jim, and because I knew he was a carburetor guy, and if you're going to run a 485 cubic inch motor on a carburetor, you probably should have a really good carburetor guy.
Yeah.
And I called Jim. I was like, hey, you interested in working on this motor? And he's like, truck pulling, what? Like, what do you want to do with it? I said, well, I need this thing to turn like 96, 9800 for 15 seconds. I mean, he hung up on me.
He hung up on you?
And I was like, oh, shit, I lost connection or whatever. And I waited about 15 minutes and called him back. And as soon as he answered, he's like, hey, I've been thinking about this. Like, we're going to have to detune this thing a little bit and, keep it to live. And I was like, well, yeah, I understand that. I'm not looking for 1,300 oars. If I can make 1,050 and it lives, I can deal with it. And that's how it was kind of born. And it's been a lot of fun.
How many passes do you get out of a short block in a season?
Oh, I mean, we freshen it every year, but I wouldn't be afraid to run it 2 years. I mean,
Really?
Motors are expensive, and if you can go spend $5,000 and put rods and rings and valve springs in it, that's like driving your brand new pickup without insurance on it. You do the insurance, you do that every year.
Right.
If it's 2024 passes, whatever, take it out, take it down there, put a set of rods in it, look at it going, hey, this is wearing funny, or, obviously there's something wrong at that point, but when you take it apart, rod bearings are perfect, crank bearings, everything's perfect in it. Hey, put it back together. Let's go pound on it some more. Apparently we're not hard on it enough. If everything's still perfect.
Are you going to come play in Texas with us here in a couple weeks?
No, we got too much stuff going. Pretty much took the month of July off to go hit all this stuff, and work is piled up behind. it's time to get it done.
Awesome. Well,
and it's a long ways down there.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, Keith, thanks for taking the time out for us tonight. Congratulations on yet another points championship, man. And hopefully we'll get to see you down at the banquet. You guys are planning on coming to the banquet, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Yep. We'll see you there, and I'm sure we'll have a couple drinks together down there as well.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Keith. Appreciate it. Keith Hammond's bipolar. He is the truck.
He's a man. He's a cool dude.
No doubt.
I probably learned more about the finer parts of this sport, the nuts and bolts and the what really goes into it, just talking to that guy than almost anything this season. I mean, he is a true fans. If you have a chance, he's a nice guy, loves to talk to you. Ask him some of those deeper questions about pulling. He's going to have an answer. He's going to have an opinion. And, you know, the proof's in the pudding. 7 outlaw championships. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, that goes for, you know, most of the pullers out there. I venture to say all the pullers out there.
Yeah.
You stop to talk to them as long as they're not doing something, you know, working on the engine at the time. They're going to talk to you because they love to talk pulling as much as anybody else, you know. So.
And I loved what he said about the DOT tires, because that's the great equalizer, you know, in that class. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And, you know, it's you talked about this a lot with some of the drag racing that you've seen. And we talked about it a little bit when we were talking about some of those dirty words, those traction control. The driver still needs to be a very active part in the sport. And that Pro Stock 4-wheel drive truck class, the driver and the machine, they're very much meshed together. So cool stuff.
Yeah, preparation is everything in that class, like he was saying. You know, having all your I's dotted, your T's crossed. You got to pay attention to every little detail, and they're one of the better teams, not the best team out there at paying attention to detail. So, Mike, Parade Alley Lounge is. I don't know if you saw that. You can't escape the party. Then he mentioned something about outlaw celebrity pulling squares.
Last night we had 9 guests. We had 9 of us participating in the Let's Grow Pulling podcast. 10 if you count Jason and Kenzie being in the same one together. So it literally turned into the celebrity squares, where it was a darn near. Things were getting a little Western. It was getting late night with the Let's Grow Pulling podcast last night.
And Charlie Hermes says that he's talking about Doug Vo, said he's getting close on the tractor. Philip Faulkner is there helping him. So awesome. So hopefully they'll get that thing done before Lufkin. We want to see that tractor back on the track. So, Mike, I'm going to run a quick commercial here, 30 seconds.
Right ahead.
And then we come back, get your video ready, and do your When the Smoke Clears, buddy. So
can do, will do. All right. So the highlight video we had tonight was so big that it did not fit into StreamYard. So I'm going to have to go to a screen share, but I've got the video ready to go right here, and it should work just fine. If we come down, I wonder if I pull up my media box, if that's going to let me see it on the screen share. Oh, well, I overdid my thinking there, Ron.
Uh-oh. We'll
get it over here out of the email then, and that should work. If not, we'll examine other avenues. Folks, I do apologize about this, but sometimes they're just a little bit too large, and they don't always fit in to what you need them to fit into.
We have a patient audience here, Mike. Marty Samuelson tuning in tonight. Said he just got out of a tractor and an auger wagon, but he made it. Thanks for watching, Marty. Of course, yeah, everybody's in full swing with harvest right now, so a lot of folks out in the field.
All right. This week, when the smoke clears, you will be looking at Taylor Van Beek. Man, that was a cool one. Well done to Kenzie Teeding, the Beer Money pulling team, for putting that together. See that in shot right up there with him pulling down the visor. You got to love stuff like that. Brand new pro stock on the season because, well, he used to have a diesel super stock, right, Ron? But that one was put on a big show for us down in Whitewright a couple years ago, if I'm correct.
Well, a lot of fire shows all over the Midwest, to be honest with you, Mike. I think that's why they backed off the diesel superclass and went to pro stock. A tractor that might live from one week to the next was the plan there, and they've done a great job. I mean, a couple of those videos were from Rock Valley this year, and those were the first hooks for Extreme Pleasure, and I don't think they've had any hiccups with the new setup at all. They're really getting it figured out.
The run that he put on at Bedford, I thought, was just about picture perfect. You know, it was another one of those, and we see this a lot. You get a brand new vehicle, and boy, you say, if we could only give this one a handful more, which I guess he's got one more hook two more hooks for the before the year's over. So just got to keep that positive momentum. So obviously, a man who is no stranger to pulling. This is Taylor Van Beek. He's the driver of Extreme Pleasure. It's a 1066 International Pro Stock. Taylor has been pulling for 21 years. Now, he's about my age, I want to say. So he got started. That's going to say he got started pretty good and young then, but no surprises there. His first hook was in Dell Rapids, South Dakota. His most memorable hook, he actually says Toma, Wisconsin, 2007. So one of the first times we've heard him kind of reference some of those other, really large pulls that we have out there, like the Rock Valleys and the Wisner. Of course, there's other ones out there. And he says Toma was quite an experience for him. Now, the one we were talking about, his wildest ride, was in Whitewright, Texas in 2023, which I think we all would have guessed that. He's got four. Go ahead, Ron.
I was going to say, I think we have a picture of that. Yeah.
I thought we almost may have had the video even.
There's a picture of it there. That was a major concussive type explosion. You felt that as well as saw it.
Have all of his tractors, because he's had, I want to say he's had like a Super Farm and then maybe a 4.1 and then maybe on into a diesel super. Have they all had the same name?
I think so. I wasn't with the Outlaws when they ran the Super Farm. I came in during the diesel super era of Extreme Pleasure. So yeah, I wasn't around for those early years.
But 4 points championships to his credit. Really liked this one right here. He says biggest pulling hero is of course Travis Van Beek. For those of you who know, of course, that would be his brother. So very, very nice, paying homage right there to that memory. He says best pulling advice is do your own thing. Don't be afraid to ask for advice, but take the data and do what you feel best. Every vehicle is different. Ron, when I first started teaching, I had a former basketball coach come up to me and he said, son, you're going to get fired at some point in your life because every teacher, coach, or whatever gets fired. He goes, if you're going to get fired, he goes, get fired losing the game with your own play. And that's kind of what Taylor is saying right here. He says, at the end of the day, even if it's the wrong call and you don't have a full pull out the back door, at least you're not going to sit there and say, well, I coulda, shoulda, woulda. So I really like that advice. At the end of the day, you're the one driving. And he says, you make the call. His day job, extreme performance and tire cutting, which is really, really neat. I've toured that workshop before. He does all the cutting on all the pulling tires for everyone. Kaiser aluminum wheel dealer as well, I believe. Yep. Pulling goals. He wants to win the Rock and the Thunderbolt. So at Wisner and at Rock Valley in the Pro Stock division. Says the best part about being an outlaw is the family and friends. Says the message to the fans, thanks for all the support at each event and following us. We couldn't and wouldn't do what we do without you. And you can follow them on Facebook, Extreme Pleasure Pulling Team. When the smoke clears, you'll be looking at Taylor Van Beek in the Extreme Pleasure.
Awesome. I would say they have to be stoked about how this year went with the new tractor. Like I said, they were right there in the competition with the other pro stocks that were already well established, and you could see them inching up on them as the year went without any major setbacks from what I could see. So yeah, congratulations on a good year for the Van Beek team as well.
And at this point, I'm trying to end my screen share here. See if that makes it work. So, well,
you got it. Kevin Davis is chiming in here, says, of course, he's promoter at Wayne, Nebraska. It says, can't wait. I'm sure he had this, put this in there when Keith was on, but said, can't wait to watch the Pro 4x4 class next year. They're adding the Pro Stock 4x4s for Wayne, Nebraska. We had the mod 4x4s in there this year, but didn't hear any complaints, but I think it was pretty rough on those guys running them I think we ran them 4 nights in a row, those mod 4x4s. So they'll get a break there from Wayne in 2025, and we're going to bring the Pro Stock 4x4s in. Oh, Mike, I think Mike just exited himself from the So thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. All the comments and questions, we appreciate it. We've got a lot of loyal fans here that watch every single week. I see Mike trying to get back in here now. Don't forget to get out there and go online, outlawpulling.com, and get entered in the Case IH Outlaw Ultimate Fan contest. We're going to give away that tractor, and we'll play that commercial again before we get out of here. But really would like to see somebody. It'd be awesome to see somebody that watches this show week in and week out win that tractor. That would be really cool. So we're going to give that away here 19 days, I think, right after the pull in Lufkin. So that'd be awesome to see if Outlaw fan win that tractor. Ben Beller, any word on how many Outlaw pullers putting in for National Farm Machinery? I'm hearing that the applications are just being received right now, Ben. So the pullers are filling them out, and we always have good representation there, so no worries on that. But yeah, I'm hearing that the applications just went out here recently, and the pullers are just now starting to get them. So here, Mike. Mike, are you there?
I'm here. I'm just I'm baffled.
What happened to you there? Where'd you go?
Hey, there we are.
Yeah, I forgot I'd thrown that picture up there. We had the still picture. I know that's how it ends on your video, but
I thought that was the video, and I was going through every tab and trying to close myself out and thought it was stuck on my end. We had the overlay stuck on there.
You absolutely did that. So
now we know.
Oh, thanks, Doug. Appreciate that. We all work as a team in the Outlaws, and appreciate that. It's we're on that early. We always start hitting that up, September-ish, even sometimes August, just trying to get things together for the following season. Because you always have some new promoters out there wanting to bring us in, and schedule doesn't always allow for that. To do every show that we want to do. We'd love to do them all, but we can't run our pullers 35, 40 hooks a year either. So
Ron, that's an interesting aspect of your job. Have you already had some venues contacting you about the 2025 season? And I'm sure a lot of them that we go to kind of come to you right after, and they say, hey, it was great, we want you back. Any new ones? And you don't have to say who, what, when, and where, but any new ones popping on just out of curiosity.
Yeah, we've got some proposals out there already. We want to bring Macon back, and we're talking to Macon, and Macon very well may go 2 days next year.
I was mowing the yard tonight, and I was saying to myself, I want Macon back, and if we do it, I think a 2-day show would be awesome. So that's funny. That's almost like a premonition thing. Of course, way too early to be knowing what's actually going to happen. But boy, that's a town and a track and a venue that they like pulling.
You're just sucking up because it's close to your house, Mike.
That was my.
It's gonna be Macon, Missouri. The Macon, Missouri Mike Idol Nationals, okay, and then Ron's gonna have to let you announce that one, Mike.
No, what'll happen is Ron will announce it, and then I'll announce something like in the Oklahoma Panhandle or something like that. So
we'll send you down to South Texas or something, Mike.
If I get to be working at a tractor pull, I am a happy person. I couldn't care less where it is or how far we have to go. The Jason Schultz joining us on Outlawed Live.
Well, I miss you guys. Why is Keith Hammons in the green room? Did we lose a bet or what's going on?
I think we had him on, and I think he's just watching right now.
Okay, cool. I see he's still in makeup, and he obviously needs a little bit more. So
I think he's just making sure we're not saying anything bad about him. You know, he's keeping an eye
right.
on
So he could just like pop back on and say, "Screw you guys! What are you doing talking about me?" And see, he's gone just like that. We did that last night. We did that last night with Mike. I put Mike in timeout, Ron, on Let's Grow Pulling because he got a little lippy, and then he brought himself out of timeout. And I said, "You can't bring yourself out of timeout.
You can't make me an editor producer on these pages." It's like when the hockey guy goes to the penalty box and they forget to latch it. Like he's skating back out there, man.
They do. Hey, Ron, I gave your name to a puller from Southern Missouri, Arkansas area. Wants to bring some trucks to Lufkin. Did he call you?
No.
Okay,
no.
The guy who builds Keith Hammond's motor, and Marty's motor, he built the motor for him. I don't think he's had it out yet. Oh. I forget his name. Crap. But I gave him your number. You know, I told him he was looking for some winter pulling, and I said, hey, you still go down to Lufkin because we're having the Pro Stock 4x4 trucks down there, aren't we?
Yep.
Not for points, right? Just cash, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Holding money and bragging rights.
So is Kevin Davis watching tonight? Is there been a Kevin Davis sighting?
Yeah, he's watching. Yep.
Is he okay? So last night, Ron, on Let's Go Pulling, Mike. So the Chiefs were playing the Saints. We were talking smack about you, Stone, too, in case you were watching. And we said if the Chiefs won, I had to wear a Taylor Swift T-shirt, and I said I was getting me a tank top like Kevin Davis wears. But then if the Saints won last night, Mike was have to wear my Green Bay Packer helmet all next week on the podcast. So but I have to get a Taylor Swift or Trailer Swift.
Trailer Swift. We're gonna get you a Trailer Swift.
Yeah. So
Mike have to wear a cheese head or a helmet.
A helmet. I have a Packer helmet. It's awesome. It's like one of the old school leather ones, Ron. It's fantastic. It is fantastic.
Jason Schultz has a helmet.
I do. I have a short bus. I actually do. You're a school bus driver. You understand how this works.
Jamie Hammond is starting rumors about Unionville. I haven't heard that yet, Jamie. So,
They were at Mercer. Mercer's not terribly far from your guys' hometown.
Do they have it in Buckner?
Yeah, but it's with Missouri State. Missouri State runs the Pro Stock 4x4.
Do we have are they similar rules, Ron, or not?
The only difference in rules is manifolds. Missouri State doesn't allow a sheet metal intake manifold, and I think that affects 2 or 3 of our guys that run sheet metal intake. They have gotten closer over the years, though. You know, they didn't used to allow the DRCE motor there for a few years, and they do now. So they've come around.
So what were you guys talking about? So we had Keith on for points championship, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Trying to get all the points champs on here, and it's kind of tough right now. Everybody's in the field still, so we're still knocking them out, getting one each week since we started it anyway. So we want to recognize all those points champs.
Absolutely. I interviewed 3 people and Spencer, but I had the camera on the wrong setting, and I filmed everything in slow motion. So I'm a ding dong. And Mackenzie yelled at me. So I had Keith's interview, and I had Corey Schluter's interview, and I talked to a few other people.
You have interviews with drivers in slow motion.
Yes.
We need to.
No, it's funny. Like
is there a bloopers reel at the banquet? We've gotta have this making.
Talk to Kenzie. They're on the Google Drive. You have access to it. You can go get those off there. She probably got so mad at me she deleted them. So the mayor of Ravenna. The mayor of Ravenna checking in. checking in. It's exciting. It's exciting off season for the Outlaws. Everybody, Ron and everybody are working hard on new events next year. We had kind of our end of year powwow with our leadership team last week and talked about 24. What can we do better? What aren't we doing that we should be doing, and really propelling the Outlaws into the future. There's a lot of good stuff coming. There's always going to be things to work on. That's a meeting where we're really honest with each other. We take a lot of feedback from everybody, and we lock ourselves in a boardroom for a couple of days and we chat, talk about life. Talk about life.
Mike was asking about new pools when you first jumped on. Anything new out there? Of course, I mentioned Macon and the potential that may go 2 days. Actually, I feel strongly that it will go 2 days. But Lindsay, Texas is going to be back in the mix.
Okay.
We do a pool in Lindsay, Texas, the weekend before White Right. And if we do it right, we want to market that as like a Texas two-step, 2 weekends in a row there in North Texas, or the North Texas two-step, something like that. Yep. So that'll be exciting as well to get us another pool there in Texas. Working on some other stuff. And of course, Jason knows Holganics is coming back next year with a vengeance. Each year that we've had this sweep, it's gotten bigger and better, and it looks like it's going to get even bigger and better next year. Not going to reveal any details yet till we get those hammered out, but it's going to be bigger and it's going to be better as well, that Holganic sweep.
Awesome. Why is Mark Ham asking about porta potties at the end of the track, Ron? What is did I miss something?
I think you said something about suggestions maybe that we were talking about and brainstorming, and I think he likes to have a porta potty close with his name on it. Maybe a passcode just for Mark.
He gets a key. He gets a swipe card. It's got a holster for a camera. Sets it down.
Absolutely, Doug Voth, aka Zook of Fukerberg. I know nothing. I just want to know, is the Griffin Growl going to be there? That's more important than if I'm going to be there. But it
sounds like he has some extra help, and I threatened him at the beginning of the show when he came on. He was like the first one to comment, and I said, "You better be listening and not typing and working on that tractor while you're listening." Right.
Not necessarily just for the tractor and me. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So if you're a promoter, Mark Ham, and for the tractor would like a porta potty close by. So. I will say there's been a few times I've ran out of the back of the production trailer when Mackenzie lets me run the switch, and I look left and I look right, and if I don't see a porta potty, I find something, Ron. I'm gonna own that right there. But you gotta go. You gotta get back in.
Careful, you never know where there's a ring camera at, Jason.
Yeah. I got caught last night. My wife put in ring cameras at my house, Ron, and I forgot about that, and I go out on my front porch with my dog, and we both take a leak. And then I turn around, and my wife sent me that picture. So she's like, "We got to stop this. We live in town." Like, I just feel like if the dog wants to go out, Ron, Mike, I should go out with him. You know what I'm saying?
Something natural about that. Yeah.
In all seriousness, I gotta go to my buddies to get my deer rifle, because the coyote's been kind of sniffing around a little bit. There was a dead deer in our backyard up in the hayfield. And we heard some yipping last night, and one of our neighbors has a Labrador. And 2:00 this morning, come flying in the doggy door, about 150 miles an hour. My neighbor said we heard the coyotes yipping, so it's time to go coyote hunting. I don't know. It'll be a loud bang in Richland Center, Wisconsin. So
there's a lot of that in Kansas. The coyote hunters, they get pretty bold. They'll come right into town, and and they're not dumb. They're pretty smart.
We live right on the edge of town. My backyard's a hayfield, and it's corn and hay. And it's just crazy. And I love my dog. I don't need a coyote getting my dog. So, and all our neighbors, we sent our little neighborhood text message out tonight, said watch out for the coyotes. I love how I came in and kind of hijacked your podcast tonight. This is kind of fun.
We're glad to see you. It's been a while. Now, I will say the last time the three of us were on Outlawed Live together, our hour show turned into like a 2.5 hour powwow, a hoorah.
Well, so last night, Let's Go Pullin went. Normally, Ron, we're trying to keep it about 90 minutes now, but then we brought the California guys on, and we had 9 of us on the screen. And we went for over 3 hours last night.
It was like 3.25. I had to go downstairs and eat a second supper. I mean, I had gotten hungry again. I'd been online so long.
Yeah, it's fun.
Any truth, since you had the California guys on last night, any truth to maybe some of those guys coming to Lufkin? Is it?
Yeah, no, I think some of the mod guys are for sure.
Awesome. Mm-hmm.
Yep, some of the mod guys are for sure. So awesome. Really hoping so. Really,
yeah,
really
we were talking earlier about the fact that a certain Kentucky team was talking about coming, but they really wanted to test out the new 12-ply Pro pullers they had ordered, and they're stuck with like 59 other sets in Tennessee right now due to the flooding and the hurricane in Tennessee. So not sure that's going to happen or not. So
understood.
Hoping we get it figured out and they can make the trip. So that always makes it fun.
I'd love to see that, because there's already such a story poised right there after White Right, where you saw Cameron and Don go 1 and 2 both nights, and then Sullivan finished. I think he finished 3rd both nights. So he's kind of shown he can run right there with the best of the Outlaws, but the Outlaws are kind of defending their home turf, and the Texas boys are kind of taking no prisoners. So, there's a narrative to be written there. So I really would like to see that Kentuckian show up and, give us that rubber match and really see how this thing's going to pan out.
And he spoke to that too, Mike. He said, I had fun. He said it, and we learned some things, putting that extra weight on the tractor. Of course, with 2 engines, they're used to running at 6,000 pounds. Now they're running 7,400. He said, we'd really like to get another shot at those guys. So
I'd love to see it. And it's an interesting concept. And I hope everyone knows that when I say this, I think, I advocate for all the loyal Outlaws, but it would be interesting if some other people said, well, hey, this is doable. And at the big pulls, if you showed up at Wisner and Rock Valley and you caught just something to shake things up, because you get extra weight to play with. So, it could set an interesting trend.
Absolutely. So 17 days till Lufkin, Jason, hard to believe that we're 17 days away. Of course, this is going to be live stream since we have Jason on here. Jason, we're running 2, it's the same broadcast, but it's going out to 2 live streaming.
Yep. So if you're an Outlaw Pulling TV subscriber, you're going to watch it. And if you're a Full Pull Live subscriber, you're going to watch it. Kurt got together with Full Pull Live, and it's going to be a great chance to do some cross promotion. We're going to, the Full Pull audience that's used to seeing pretty much just Grand National and TPA stuff all summer long, going to get to watch Lufkin, Texas. That's going to be good for our Outlaw sponsors to see that. And a new audience. We had great success with it last weekend in Woodbury, Tennessee. We're going to Sevierville, Tennessee this weekend with Full Pull Live. And then now the Full Pull audience gets to hear Ron's voice, gets to see some Outlaw Pulling. It's going to be a great cross promotion. What I'm really excited about is nobody has to buy a new subscription, Ron. If you have your Outlaw Pulling TV or you have your Full Pull Live, you get to watch the same stream. Dan Mayer's coming out to work with you, Ron. We'll have, in my very humble opinion, the 2 best announcers in the country on the mic at the same time. No offense to you, Mike. You're good, but you're not.
No, that's yet. Jason. I'm a rookie. I will say. I want to say right now. Do you realize? So a year ago, I was I want to announce pulls. That'd be so cool. And my first season, I was able to work with Ron Stone and Dan Mayer. I mean, that from a rookie point of view, you don't get. So I'm just blessed that I was able to be around these individuals and learn as much as I've learned. No, you're not going to hurt my feelings. These are the 2. If you want to be listening to a pull, you want to be listening to those guys.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Ron, Dan will have the Full Pull hat on. Ron's going to have the Outlaw hat on, but it's going to be fun to listen to those 2 work together. Just 2. I don't know if anybody could argue, Ron, that Dan Mayer probably forgot more about pulling than the rest of us combined.
Yeah,
he's the pulling. He's the Rain Man of pulling. I mean, he really is. He literally, we do call outs to him during Let's Grow Pulling on Monday nights. Like, hey, Dan, has there ever been a champion that, and he'll all of a sudden Mike will get a text message or I will. And it's fun. He's our resident, phone a friend kind of a guy. So
I like to challenge him whenever we get together. Ron. I like to challenge him and show him an old picture or something and be like, who is this, Dan?
Yes. It would be interesting the call out to the internet. Can you stump Dan Mayer? Can you find it? And I've wondered this, does he research it or does he just walk out on his back porch and he just absorbs pulling knowledge the way the rest of us get a sunburn or something?
So Ron, we started a new segment on Let's Grow Pulling, and obviously Mike's a co-host on there with us as well as Outlawed Live. And Mike found these old pictures. And this is him talking last night. We cut this segment out. So this is a little throwback what do we call this, Mike? What do we name your segment yet?
Are we calling it Power of the Past? Are we stealing that from
I think
the
we
fourth?
should.
That's Ron.
Ron and I are officially responsible for the Ulmer Mafia, the Median Militia that never stuck. What else, Ron, did we come up with for names in the past on our show?
Hollywood. Tristan Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood. Yep.
Myers. Yeah.
So I mean, I think we've came up with some pretty good ones. So.
Yeah. Fireball for Paulson's.
Yep. I like it. So, but here, let's check this out. So if you have any questions, but if anybody knows the answer to this, so Mike's talking about this is so fun.
Yeah. I'll do some follow-up with it afterwards. There's more.
When you want me to pause it, Mike, just let me know, okay?
Sure. Play it. Random pointless facts with Mike Idle. Speaking of which, I have a legitimate mystery with one of the coolest pulling stories I've ever accidentally researched. So buckle up, guys. I don't even know how I'm going to present this, but I've got cool stuff that I want to show everyone tonight. So let's start it off with what we know. We might only get to 2 tractors tonight, and if so, that's fine. We'll just kick the other 2 to tomorrow.
No, Massetti can play along with the stuff.
So, well, then we'll throw up the picture of one of the highest, one of our most shared pictures we had on like Beer Money social media this week was actually a picture of my mom in 1991. So, that's a fun one. We're going to show that one.
Okay, so when he said that last night, Ron, if you could watch my face, there's a picture of my mom from 1991.
It's true.
I know,
It's
Mike.
true.
It was just, you didn't say she was with the Diesel Superstock. You just said my mom in 1991.
Hey, man,
It was so funny.
it is what it is.
I love you, Mike. You're my buddy.
Later on. Well, let's start at what we know. So this right here, I know, like this one is not debated. So this tractor is actually called Bigfoot, as in like the same name as the monster truck. And they say that this tractor actually came out and was doing its thing. It was named before the monster truck. I don't know about that. But this is LD Nation. So LD Nation had this tractor in, I'm assuming this picture is taken between like 1981 to 1985, somewhere in there. This is either Bethany, Missouri, or the Missouri State Fair in the early to mid 80s. LD Nation pulling a super stock. I think this was a super stock that he called Bigfoot with the words Red Power written on the side shields. Now that's kind of cool in and of itself, because when you think of LD Nation, you think of the 4 Aces, Unlimited Modified. And then later on, he had the Big Turbines, and he had the Indians and Outlaws. And I think he even had like Missouri Gambler or something like that, 2-wheel drive truck. So LD been around a long time. And not a lot of people realize that he started off with a super stock tractor or had a tractor at the same time. But, that much we know. Where the story gets confusing is with this tractor right here. So this is almost at the same pull. Like, I'm not convinced that these both weren't Bethany, Missouri, 1981, somewhere in there. And as you guys can all see, there's 2 names on the side of this tractor and then like a straight up family name on it too. So you can see on the side of the tractor, it has Mean Green written at the top. But on the side shields, it has Sneaky Snake. Now, we're not going to go down that route because there was another tractor called Sneaky Snake, and I think it was like an international pro stock that pulled in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. I don't think they come into the story at all. So, like, first of all, is this Mean Green or is this Sneaky Snake? But you can see clear as day on the bottom down here on the frame, it says Watson Brothers. So I started Googling, I started following some leads, and actually several outlaw pullers kind of chimed in. Fred Petch chimed in and said, hey, this is the Watson Brothers. They're out of Texas. And in my research, I actually found an obituary for, I'm assuming you say this guy's name as Robbie. It might be Roby. It's R-O-B-Y. And it's going to tell all about him and his brother. So I'm going to jump in at the tail end of his obituary. And this is where I started tagging. And it's like, this is obviously Mean Green, piloted by the Watson brothers.
Oh,
but this is it Roby? R-O-B-Y?
Sorry.
Aaron Shriver.
So Roby Watson. This is Roby Watson's memorial. Just listen to this story.
He said Toby first, that's why. Okay.
In his young adult years, Roby, it could be Robbie, there's only one B, Roby, participated in rodeos around Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana with Billy. Billy is his brother. There's your Watson brothers. And his favorite event to compete in was steer wrestling. In his middle adult years, he grew an interest in tractor pulling and started competing with Mean Green. So that's important. There's the, it says Mean Green right there. With Mean Green, a tractor he and Billy owned and worked on together. James recalls how the tractor broke loose from the sled at the 1978 White Right tractor pull. So, Outlaw fans or Outlaw Pulling TV, White Right, Texas, that should ring a bell. So the tractor breaks free from the sled in 1978 at White Right tractor pull, and in a successful attempt to miss the crowd, the tractor flipped upside down and ejected Roby. He was taken to the hospital in Sherman, where he was told he was going to have to spend the night and wouldn't be able to shave for 6 months due to burns on his face. He refused to stay, walked out of the ER, and went straight back to the tractor pull in White Right. The next morning, he woke up, shaved, and went to church. Roby went on to amass 7 regional points championships for the NTPA, including multiple wins at Louisville, Kentucky.
Now that's awesome knowledge there, Ron Stone. That we bring that. That's good stuff. Okay,
I have the entire rest of the story. It all unfolded today. I was going to make a video about it, but we can go live and tell it right here, right now, if everybody
You're going to
wants
make a video, but you're going to do it live on Outlawed Live. So go for it, Mike.
So I got a message today from Roby's daughter-in-law. Got a Facebook message, and she said, hey, we heard about some people. We went back and watched. We heard about some people told us about the show. We went back and watched it. She said, I'm Roby's daughter-in-law. My son, James, knows my husband, James, his son, knows everything about the tractor. Here's his phone number. Give him a call. So about 2:30 this afternoon, I called James, son of Roby, down in Texas, and just straight up, clear as day, just lying the whole thing out for us. So the big debate was, and I don't know if we got to it in this video, half the internet was saying this is not Watson Brothers. Half the internet was saying this is LD Nation. That was like what they were claiming. They were like, this is LD Nation's tractor. And the other half was saying, no way, that's Watson Brothers out of McKinley, Texas, or out of Leonard, Texas, And so I'm like, well, it says Watson Brothers. And one guy said, well, when it was Sneaky Snake, it was Watson Brothers. When it was Mean Green, it was LD. And I said, well, it almost can't be LD because I've got pictures from both at the same pull. So I called James, and the story kind of runs down like this. He said this tractor did belong to LD Nation. LD Nation actually bought it from a man named Larry Klein out of Kansas in 1976. LD Nation and Roby Watson got to talking at a pull, I believe in Oklahoma, and agreed to terms on it, where then the Watson brothers bought the tractor in 1978. When they bought it from LD, it was a tricycle front with 2 turbochargers on it. The Watsons decided to go ahead and make it a wide front. They put a 3rd turbo on it, and then they ran it well into the mid-90s in the 7,500 and 9,500 pound super stock class. 3 different wins. I think they said they've got 3 different wins, 2 wins at the National Farm Machinery Show. And they would have had a 3rd win, but they were disqualified for excessive oil being spilled on the track. So interesting rule there. It was a diesel the whole time. But now to bring this back to Outlawed Live, this gets really, really interesting. In the mid-90s, Doug Roberts called Roby Watson and his brother and said, I don't have a lot of John Deeres running up here in Missouri. I don't have a lot going on right now. Can you send this tractor up here? And he said, so we sent the tractor up there. Hadn't ran it in a while. And they said Doug updated it, with all the tech specs on it and everything, and put the roll cage on it. And then he started laughing. He goes, well, come to think of it, we never did actually sell it. He goes, I guess we still own that tractor. It's just sitting up there in Missouri in Doug's shop somewhere. And then someone else commented and said that Dave Yarick actually drove it. Of course, the father of Cody Yarick drove this tractor right here before they built their own tractors. So between the White Ride and the buying and selling in Oklahoma and the Doug Roberts and the Yarick family, I didn't know that. When I started with this picture, it was just a picture of my dad's, and people said it was LD Nation. People said it was the Watson brothers. It's sitting in a shed somewhere in Missouri now, we think. Still technically owned by the Watson brothers.
Ron, I feel like when you do like our own show, like where is it now? Like what's that? Was that VH1? Where are they now? They would go find like these rock stars. We gotta go find these old pulling tractors and trucks.
Yeah. A lot of times they don't end up going all as one piece. A lot of times they get cut up and say, the rear end goes here and the sheet metal goes there and the chassis goes here. Motor somewhere else. You see that a lot too. So if it's in one piece, that would be pretty extraordinary, being that old, that it would still be all together.
I really wanted to share. I thought that was a cool.
We had that 20-minute conversation with just a gentleman out of Texas that just knew everything there was to know about pulling. Says he's from the same hometown as the Shameless super modified 2-wheel drive truck. So
that's Leonard, Texas, right?
Yeah. Says he never misses White Right. Says he goes to White Right every single year. So I was twisting his arm. I said, well, y'all go to Lufkin. He says, well, it's about a 3-hour drive. And, that's a Sunday stroll when you're in Texas, right?
I wish it was a 3-hour drive for me.
I was looking at the map today, figuring it out. It's down by Houston.
Yeah, north of Houston. You can see a lot of Oklahoma countryside on the way there. It's
any Oklahoma pulls in the rumor mill? I know, Ron, you can't really talk about much, but like, got any Oklahoma stuff?
Working, still hopeful we can get at least one. The Longdale, Oklahoma is one that I'd like to get back. They don't have a pull there now. There was an Outlaw pull there. I'm not sure what year it was. They had one. There was before I came on board, but really like to get that one. Yeah, we'd love to pull in Oklahoma again. Kind of not quite South Texas, kind of in between. Derek Brown says they'd love one in Oklahoma. They live in Oklahoma now, so they got a mod 4-wheel drive and a pro stock 4-wheel drive. So we'd like to pull in Colorado. We'd love to pull in North Dakota. I'll throw this out there. There's a possibility.
Wait for it.
Might be a long shot, but Sturgis is.
Oh,
there's a possibility.
Cool,
just saying.
We posted that question on one of our social media pages in the Outlaw, and we're like, what pull should we bring back, or where should we go? That one was said a lot, and I heard a lot of fun stories this summer. I never knew that the Outlaws pulled out there, but there was a lot of people who spoke very fondly. There was one there at one time, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a long way
out of Buffalo Chips, right, Ron?
Like across the street. I wasn't there. I think they did it one time, but the people that went thought it was cool. So I've never been there myself. Never even been to Sturgis, but it'd be cool to have one in Sturgis, I think.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
If they have it across from Buffalo Chips, we have to have the super modified 2-wheel drives out there.
Oh yeah, and Tammy Morris will go out there. She'll buy more jewelry when she's out there.
Did you say buy more jewelry? I think you get beads up there. You don't have to buy them.
Well, Tammy would get some.
No beads for us.
No. That's not gonna happen. So, well, cool, guys. I'm gonna jump off. Sorry for hijacking your show, Ron, but that's what happens when I can log in. So, love you both. Have a good night.
You're good, man. Thank you. All right. Well, Mike, awesome show. And you were talking about supper. I'm hungry too, buddy. So, I'll jump off. We got one more comment. We'll let Marty get in here. Marty's speaking to
Sturgis.
Pull in Sturgis. Yeah.
Sure.
That's about right. Probably a year or two before I came on board. 2020 was my first season with Outlaws. So thanks everyone for watching. Mike, thanks. That was a cool story. Appreciate that too for Jason playing that. But thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget, get entered in the Ultimate Fan Outlaw Case IH contest there. They're going to give that tractor away just a little over 3 weeks. Want to see somebody out there in Outlaw Nation win that tractor from Case IH. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next Tuesday.